name is Sikora. Today I'll be informing you on how to become a police officer. My first main point is, a typical day in the life of a police officer, what they do in the community. My second main point is the actual physical training you'd go through and showing actually how dangerous it is, besides what people believe and already know how dangerous it is. And my third main point is where I actually would like to become a police officer and a little bit about why I want to become a police officer. So jumping to my first main point, a typical day in the life of a police officer is to serve and protect their community, keep their family and friends safe. Some of the sub-departments you can have to be in a police officer is the SWAT team right here. SWAT team, you have to go a couple more, after being a certain amount of years of being a police officer, you can submit your application, do a little bit more training, and become on a SWAT team. SWAT team is mainly for hostage situations or trying to get into somewhere more tactical. They have more firearms, more protection, more aggressive. Another sub-department is the actual narcotics team. They're out there trying to stop big-time drug lords. They take them, they find all their drugs, their money, their weapons, take that all from them. My second main point is the actual training you would go to and how dangerous it actually is. So you have to complete 556 hours at least of training just before you even get a badge, a gun, or a uniform. Some of the training you do is how to protect yourself, how to protect everyone else around you, driving the car appropriately, how to take someone down.
The library. The library is now
another
closed.
Showing how dangerous it is. A study I learned, out of 100,000 fatalities from the police, 7% of those resulted from cardiac arrest. They believe due to how stressful and crazy the job is. Different from cardiac arrest to a heart attack. A heart attack is the actual ventricles in your heart close, stopping the blood slowly to your heart. The actual cardiac arrest is where there's no electric pumping your heart. It just stops, causing no blood flow to your heart, your brain, or the rest of your body. My third main point here is where I would want to become a police officer and why I want to become a police officer. A couple reasons for me wanting to be a police officer is two people in my life that have showed me and told me great things about becoming a police officer. First being my uncle in Mississippi. He's a police officer now for a couple of years. He's the one who got me into it, told me all the stories about it and everything. He tells how easy it is to get promoted. You start out simple police officer, you can move your way up, come anywhere from going to being on a motorcycle, to riding a bike, to have a canine unit, all that. Where my second person who was influenced me on becoming a police officer was my grandfather. He was a Harvey police sergeant, and he told me all these stories about him growing up on the force, and he's told me a story one time about how he arrested this gang person, and after that, his friends and buddies came by and showed up at his house and started throwing rocks and bricks through his windows. And that's just something that really interested me and something that made me want to do. Some of the actual police departments that I would want to be in is the LAPD and the Atlanta Police Department. A study showed that the top 10 places that officers are needed, number 6 was Atlanta, and the first place that was needed was the LAPD. An officer average pay is typically about $50,000 to $55,000. But if you are in these other locations such as the LAPD, you can be making almost twice as that. And for Atlanta, it was at $77,000. My third point, in conclusion, I told you all today about typical day in the life of an officer, what he has to do, the sub-departments that you can be in. I talked about what influenced me becoming an officer, either my uncle in Mississippi or my grandfather here in Harvey. And I also talked to you about where I would want to be a police officer, in Atlanta or LAPD, or even possibly here in Chicago. I also talked about some of the sub-departments, your SWAT team, your scout snipers, your K-9 units, your narcotics teams. And I talked about some of the training you would complete, 556 hours of class before you even get your badge, your gun. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.